Welcome back. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, and Rovi, and today we're going to talk about recursive inscriptions. All right, we're getting deep in there, dude.
That's a weird title. Or recursive. Doesn't that like mean something somewhere else?
Well,
in like a mathematics or something like that? I'm sure it does.
it does, but
Okay.
in this case,
Yeah.
you have inscriptions calling other inscriptions. So,
Okay.
So just recently, good old Casey Rodarmor just did accepted a pull request.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've heard anything from him, right?
Yeah.
It's like he mostly hasn't chimed in on almost anything that's been developing since he first brought out Ordinals.
Yeah.
But I guess now he's done enough analyses, him and his core team.
Yeah.
To where they're coming out with like the next big upgrade to the standard proposal of the Ordinal system. So this is a big one. This is a big deal. We're going to get into it, why exactly it is a big deal, why we all...
Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built MetaZone, the first app store for the metaverse. Buy, sell, and explore a new class of digital assets like our flagship game Rovi.ai. Support us by collecting your digital assets through MetaZone at metazone.io. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated. All right, back to the video.
As Ordinal fanboys and girls,
Yeah.
we all need to become very well educated on this next step, right?
Yeah.
People are already calling it Ordinals 2.0, which
Yeah. It's
probably
only,
qualifies.
yeah,
right?
it's only like 6 months old, this whole thing, and we're at 2.0 already.
Yeah, well, we gotta move fast, dude.
Yeah.
We gotta beat Ethereum, right? Right, TJ? Yeah.
No.
Well, we could try. They're trying, right? That's
Yeah.
what's going on here.
All right, so let's talk about what this is exactly. So I'm showing you here the GitHub that all of this sort of kind of started. And we're looking at kind of like the communication threads. There's Casey. There's this guy named Raf Jaff.
Scooby-Doo profile pic.
And finally, it gets accepted. And all of a sudden, we have this new functionality on Ordinal. So Leonidas, I guess a really huge influencer
Yeah.
who's pushing Ordinals on NFTs, or Ordinals on Bitcoin, talks about like what this is exactly. So here it goes. Inscriptions can now use a special tag syntax to request the content of other inscriptions. A simple change unlocks many powerful use cases. For example, rather than inscribing 10,000 JPEG files for a PFP collection individually, which would be quite expensive, you can inscribe the 200 traits from the collection and then make 10,000 more inscriptions that use a small amount of code to request traits and programmatically render the image.
Okay.
So instead of doing 10,000 very expensive inscriptions with a ton of data because you're uploading individual images,
Yeah.
you can just do 200 inscriptions and then
Yeah.
use those 200 attributes to
Yeah.
generate your 10K
It's
project.
basically like you just inscribe like the logic that's necessary to, I guess, in real time or
The building blocks.
right, something that you can pull or request in order to generate something of higher value from
Yes.
that origin set of data or information, right? Which makes sense. It sounds a lot like how computation is supposed to work, right?
Right.
I would think so. Like a lot of computers, they have like these source codes and stuff, and then you kind of write a few lines, and out of nowhere you got like some new function, some new thing that people can interact with. It's a good idea. So like this is going to potentially like enhance the whole Ordinals ecosystem, move us past like this era of like do nothing, right?
Yeah, and to inscribe 10,000 things on Bitcoin is still kind of expensive. I mean, not anybody could do it. You need thousands of dollars to just inscribe stuff.
That's true, and potentially will get more expensive down the road.
Yeah.
So that definitely excludes a lot of people, right, from participating.
It definitely does.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's not a simple smart contract anymore. You have to individually inscribe each one.
yeah, and that's what people are kind of like proposing or saying right now. It's very experimental what's going on with Ordinals, but possibly in the future, once things get more expensive, until the layer 2 stuff kind of starts to come online and becomes normalized, this might just be a chain more for like, I don't know, luxury IPs.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, I don't like the idea of that. Myself. I like the more organic grassroots creations. But I get it. I get why people are like kind of like honing on this marketing narrative, trying to attract like bigger brands to Bitcoin.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. Yeah. So just kind of digging in a little deeper, it says, let's think bigger. What if the inscribe packages were code that everyone would be able to call?
Yeah.
So On-Chain Monkey has already done this. They inscribed the p5.js and the 3.js NPM packages fully on-chain. So 3.js is like a 3D viewer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like responsible for some of the metaverses and 3D viewing on like any OpenSea website. They use 3.js to kind of show you a 3D model, right? Rotating. And so, for example, you use these packages, inscriptions in their upcoming dimensions drop from On-Chain Monkey, and they allow to create a beautiful 3D art in under 1 kilobyte.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
So the less kilobytes, the cheaper it is to inscribe. So that's the whole goal here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can even think bigger. What if lots of people upload lots of packages of code? So now there's a huge repository of packages for developers to build on top of. This one like powerful use cases that could never be done in under 4 megabytes. The most complex pieces of software are just a bunch of code compiled together after all. Now it becomes possible to put a complex 3D video game fully on-chain on Bitcoin. So the sky's the limit, Leonidas says. And there's a few examples here. So if we click on this guy, it's like we're showing an inscription here, already with this inscription number here. And it looks like this. So basically, you kind of click through this particular inscription. The code is calling the different attributes of this particular PFP project, and the code is compiling those attributes in these images. and the code is showing you 100 different iterations of these guys. So one inscription, 100 different images.
Right, but the content, the properties of what it is that's being rendered on this display. These are all like individual inscriptions, like I don't know, the pink hair model.
Yeah,
like,
correct.
So there's probably I don't know how many unique characteristics there are to these 100 different models, but I assume each like pure version or pure unique model is like its own inscription data set, I guess.
Yeah,
that has been inscribed, and then so this thing right here just has HTML code that has that embedded syntax, right?
Yes.
The recursion line of code that's able to pull the IDs of other inscriptions to do this.
Yes,
right?
correct. Yeah,
cool,
so you can imagine the hair is its own inscription, the face, like the eyes, the mouth, like all that's its own inscription. The circle face is its own inscription, and like the clothing. And then the code here just calls that data, and then it renders it. And so now you have 100 different images.
Okay. So I guess in the future, once like some 10K PFP project creators get a hold of this this new model, and they're just going to build like some kind of interface. Every time you purchase one of these PFPs, it's going to just render a new inscription that has like the HTML code.
Yeah,
it's just going to randomize.
Yeah, what you're inscribing is the HTML code of like the particular randomized selection.
Right.
And so your code obviously will not change, but the code is still calling the different attributes.
Randomly.
Yeah, randomly. Yeah.
Upon purchase, most likely, because that's how PFPs used to work, right? So, yeah, this is important, right?
Yeah, this. You're right. Here's why it's important. Because if you could develop an interface that allows people to pay for their own inscriptions rather than the project paying for the inscription, now you onboard the masses of creators who don't have necessarily 20 grand to inscribe everything.
And that to me is what I want to see. I don't want Bitcoin to just become like this luxury goods market, because only like big companies or corporations can afford, I don't know, $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000.
Yeah, just to inscribe.
Just to inscribe a collection. Like that's very limiting. I mean, even though it might like up the quality a bit.
Yeah.
Because if you got to make that kind of investment, you definitely want to invest in like top quality artists or something like that to produce something that's marketable.
Yeah.
But come on, man, the community shit's always the best.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Once you enable the community, then you start seeing all kinds of weird stuff. Cool stuff.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I agree. So the interfaces. So right now we have the standard. Or I guess right now it gets deployed on the 15th of June, right? That's when it's actually fully accepted or something?
You could use this right now. The only problem is there's no documentation on the proper way to use it.
Gotcha.
And so that's what we're waiting for on the 15th. So they're putting together documentation so that everybody can use it.
Okay, so this is reality now. We are in Ordinals inscription phase 2.0. Yep. And these developers will get used to this. They'll understand how to leverage it. And then the interfaces, the platforms and stuff will be, I mean, Ord.io, I guess, is already first in line, right? They already have deployed like the first recursive inscription line somewhere. These guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Ord.io. So it was Leonidas that created Ord.io. Mm-hmm. So, so he was the first one to kind of support it. All the other platforms will likely support it since it's part of the standard now. And then,
standards are interesting, right? Like how...
Yeah, they're important.
But if you think about it, it's really like the idea of a standard. It's like all it is just like some entity or person or something coming out and saying like this is how things should be, and as long as everybody else like follows along or agrees, then it becomes standard, right? There's nothing like enforceable.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing about this particular standard is there was a dialogue, right? So when Casey Rodarmor came up with his Ordinals theory, I don't think he was like interfacing with a ton of people like he is now.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so now there's like a consensus. People agree like, hey, this is a good update.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you update a few lines of code in GitHub and people use that as a standard. And here we are.
I mean, it's definitely a good one. This is something that it adds like a semblance of, like we said, computational ability. To where you have much more flexibility, I guess, in like what it is you can create and offer as an inscription.
So here's another like intended consequence as a result of all this. Mm-hmm. It's like these inscriptions that have like the hat and the monocle and the mustache. We could use that. We could use that to create our own PFP project.
Huh. So it's like open sourcing the art.
Yeah.
A bit.
Now everybody can use that.
Interesting. It is pretty cool.
And so but here's the challenge is that not everybody wants like a circular character.
Right.
Right. Someone's going to be an alien.
Yeah.
But if you fit within like the kind of like the guidelines of this, it could be like an octopus head. Yeah. Right. You can just kind of fit it within like the structures and then you can come up with some cool stuff.
I totally agree. Yeah. And that's the case with all this. Anytime there's like a new paradigm or a new tweak on something, it has like, a logistic backing as to why they're doing it in the first place, but nobody really knows the result of it. It's kind of like, nobody expected BRC20s to kind of come out of Ordinals.
Yeah, correct.
But they did.
Yeah.
Right. So we don't know exactly what this is going to lead into. It's like so early and so conceptual at this stage, even though we have like a proof of a concept right here with this guy.
Yeah.
Or these guys, 100 of them. But this to me is like the most basic of like applications of what this can enable, because the way they're describing it, like building an actual internet layer on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know who said that, but that sounds pretty significant if you think about it. If you can like extrapolate down the line, like how big can this actually get?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started looking up how many lines of code have ever been written. Something like 3 trillion.
Yeah.
And then you start to think of like, could you potentially like embed every single line of code ever written onto like a Satoshi unit and inscribe that?
There's definitely enough space.
There's enough space on Bitcoin to like host all the logic of, I don't know, humanity's computational efforts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It
is cool.
Significant, but I don't think you could ever really rely on, at least not the Bitcoin base layer, to do any like real computation
or networking, because the internet is a network of servers that are hosting dynamic content being populated by humans.
Right.
And so Bitcoin is just, think of it as like one server hosting content now.
Why couldn't you append like servers to a Satoshi and like,
I mean, you could
create a network that way where you just request all these, like a whole network of servers that are distributed throughout all these different SAT networks.
I mean, you could inscribe the link to a server. But then you need to be able to extract information from that server, from that inscription, not just like the link to the server itself.
Right.
But I mean, you could update the standard to start pulling information from servers too.
Yeah, just add another layer of
another layer. 3.0.
Something like that. Yeah. Let's just keep it going, dude, until we replace the whole internet.
Yeah.
That's like every cypherpunk's dream, isn't it? Like decentralizing truly, like every component of the internet.
I mean, I guess you could do that.
Well, we're not going to give away any ideas here yet. We're just kind of like theory crafting. Like this is what I'm most interested in. How far is this gonna go? Right now, this is cute. We get to render up 10K PFPs all over again on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching the ZK or the OMB. They're inscribing like the rare sats like onto this new, I guess, line of PFP collection.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can pull it up. It should be on Ord.io too. Just look up the OM. I think they're called. Well, just go to the homepage. You'll see one. Well, you were just there, dude.
Well, I was. Yeah, I'm trying.
Just go to the homepage on this guy.
Here we go.
Just so you can kind of like paint a picture. See that little right there on the right? Right down. The white background guy. Yeah, that. So let's click on. Just scroll down. Click on the block 9 attribute. That was the wrong one.
God damn it.
Yeah, you really need to work on your block 9 attribute at the very bottom.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so look at the left hand. 1900. Dude, we've been following this inscription.
Yeah, 1909.
For like 5 days, dude. This looks like the most painful of like efforts. I'm assuming this project's on its way to a 10K collection, but man, it takes a while. Probably like a lot of money, a lot of manual finagling.
Yeah,
right?
And many of the projects don't go to 10K. They go 100K or 100 or 1,000.
For this reason, dude. It's like, dude, this is tough. And this is pre like new standard, right?
I mean, Ord.io could do a cron job and just sequentially inscribe all these. Like, I don't know why not do that instead of manually doing every single one.
I don't know, but I've been keeping my eye on this one because this one's probably one of the more interesting, like rare attribute projects. We talked about it like a few days ago. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, whenever we featured it, I think it had like 700 or 800 inscriptions, so it's doubled in size. But man, this takes a long time. This kind of paints the picture of why.
Yeah.
This standard needed to come into fruition in the first place.
Yeah. So here are all the attributes: Nakamoto's, sat mined by Satoshi. Mm-hmm. We have Block 78, Halfini, Pizza, Palindromes. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like this is like you said, it's brand new. We don't know how far this is gonna go, but this is definitely what we've been waiting for, right? The market's been like in a lull. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like everyone's scrapping around for like what is gonna be that next narrative to kind of like push this movement forward. Mm-hmm. This definitely seems like a good candidate. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. And here's just another example of an inscription. And so let's take a look at this particular Doge Punk Invaders. Mm-hmm. And you can play this game. All the links will be in the description, but check out the size of this. This is 47 kilobytes. So once you get into like the megabyte range, like you're taking up the whole block, right? Yeah. And so that's not really sustainable. So that's why recursive inscriptions are going to be important, because you could take the functionality of this game, inscribe it, and then others can use that same functionality for their game without costing them so much space.
I see. Yeah. So it's all about like making the efficiency improvements, right?
Yeah.
Like as far as like, files, and that's always important, right? That's how I guess that's how everything progresses as far as like, I don't know, like compressing and decompressing different types of files in order to, improve the user experience across the board of all things digital.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like an example of that. Bitcoin is kind of growing a little bit, but they're kind of forced to do that and forced to do it quickly, because there is real obvious interest in this BRC20 space and Ordinal space, but something's got to change for sure. And I guess we've already covered so many different like proposals. You got the trustless computer guys trying to implement some type of smart contract ecosystem on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
there's like so many different attempts to try and add new functionalities and stuff, but it's starting to seem like, I guess it's like it has to come from Casey himself at this point.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, trustless computer can still add so much functionality that developers leverage it to build whatever project they want to do.
That's true.
So it just really depends on what is enabled.
Yeah, that's the most important, I think, realization. It just depends on the developer.
Yeah.
Like, who knows which standard is the best? Only the developers really do. And then are they going to be able to create some kind of killer app or killer something of value that's significant and it's going to attract millions of users.
Yeah.
Wherever that ends up happening, whether it's this, Ordinals 2.0 infrastructure or something else, then that's what's going to get it.
Yeah. And here's another example. Someone is leveraging the Three.js packages.
Yeah.
And they created a 3D model that's super high resolution, and it only cost them a kilobyte, a single kilobyte.
That's wild.
For this high resolution 3D model as an inscription.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can imagine, a 3D PFP project. We have our own 3D MetaGen project that allows people to submit 3D models and like mix and match and everything. And so we could inscribe that and allow people to use MetaGen on Bitcoin. So
yeah, we've been talking about that. So I don't know, maybe that's another future video. We'll just go down that rabbit hole, see if it's worth doing.
All right, that's it for us. We talked about recursive inscriptions. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Let us know if you found anything that you want us to talk about as well. Follow us on Twitter at TheBlockRunner, at MetaZone.io, and at RobyAI, and we'll catch you in the next video.
Peace.